Let's go. I'm Cory, your host, one half of the Court and Full of That podcast. And I'm back like I never left with another installment, the first installment. We're doing taken out of context this time, y'all. And I know y'all see the topic of today's video, joy to the world, joy to the world. Shout out to the Lord from what Swag Boy Loves, King Loves. But if you have not seen the alleged, it's not an alleged lawsuit. The lawsuit is alleging the whole possible sexual scandal going on at FS1. Shout out to Shannon Sharp, Uncle Shannon, but Joy Taylor out there being messy, being messy. So we're gonna get into it today, y'all. Get into that FS1 lawsuit and an article about reacting to that. But before we get started, make sure y'all comment, like, share, and subscribe. Shout out to the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you leave those rating reviews on the podcast platforms as well. My information, as well as my coach Jordan information, can be found in the description on YouTube. All right. And again, it's taken out of context, so we don't got to do the money talk on here. However, we definitely don't take it out of context. Got to make sure we do the disclaimer. This for entertainment purposes only. Myself, no Jordan or fitness professionals or any type of professional outside the tech field, but this for entertainment purposes only. And you need to do your own research and seek a professional before taking any action on anything we say. All right, this is taken out of context, so we're gonna get into reacting to some of the more hot topics, the hottest topics. And speaking of hot topics, no pun intended, but we are gonna get into the California fire. Not on this episode, but another episode. I'm gonna record that later on about that whole situation. But I'm taking out of context. I'm just gonna be reacting to a lot of different things on the internet. We're gonna start working on incorporating videos. We're gonna see how that goes. In reference to my mic, I switched the mics out, so I don't think it's my mic. It could be my mixer, my Focusrite, or it could be my internet connection. I don't think it's my internet connection because I'm not getting StreamYard like has a signal. So for the mic issues, like I'm still troubleshooting that. Again, right now I'm talking, don't hear the issues. I turned on local recording. I don't know if that'll fix it. I'm not sure. So we're just gonna continue troubleshooting as we go, but got to keep dropping the content because that can't stop. All right, but we're gonna get into it, y'all. Joy to the world, joy to the world. Was Joy out for sale photo? I don't know. Anyways, all right, here we go. Now, if you haven't seen, I think the two craziest things in this article, and again, we don't read articles ahead of time on here, but I think the two craziest things are what Skip Bayless allegedly did. And I think one thing that's being overlooked, and I don't know if it's in this article, but we're going to get into it in one of the videos about something that Joy Taylor did. So stay towards the end of the episode if it's not in this article to see what really the most egregious thing that is being alleged in this lawsuit from Joy Taylor. Because a lot of people are saying, like, what type of ramifications can they really face if no one was forced to do anything? There are no drugs, right? It's not a Bill Cosby type of situation. It's kind of like, people are going to get fired, right? Skip's gone already. Shannon's gone already. So how's that happen? I believe Charlie Dixon, who is the main executive involved in this, I believe he's not there anymore as well. So, we'll see. But anyways, Fox Sport lawsuit explain what to know about Skip Bayless, Joy Taylor workplace misconduct allegations. Shout out to Skip. Skip Joy is wild, but like Skip, it's crazy how it intertwined. All right, and I think we're gonna get into the issue with Skip and Shannon on here as well. That's more in the lawsuit. I haven't read over the entire lawsuit, but I've seen recaps and thorough videos over the lawsuit, so I got some way to fill in some things here. They're not in this particular article, but I wasn't going over a 42-page lawsuit. That's not me. I only do that for like student loans. Anyways, Fox Sports was rocked by a workplace misconduct lawsuit filed this past Friday, not yesterday, but the third, January 3rd, filed by a former hairstylist. The hairstylist is going too, right? For some of the company's on-air personalities. The suit filed in Los Angeles includes allegations against a handful of well-known sports media members, leading to explosive reactions on social media and relative silence from those involved. But let's pause that. I don't need trouble for that. Anyways, here's what you need to know about the lawsuit, including allegations and individuals involved. So here we go. Fox Sport lawsuit explained. Hairstylist. Ooh. By the way, who's this article written by? This article is written by Dan Tracy, January 9th. The hairstylist's name is Nushin Faraji. I'm sorry, man, for pronouncing your name incorrectly. I'm assuming I am, but for Miss Nushin, she alleges the hairstylist, I want to refer to her as the hairstylist. The hairstylist alleged that she was forced to endure a misogynistic, racist, ableist workplace where executives and talent were allowed to physically and verbally abuse workers with impunity from 2012 to 2024. That's crazy. Over a decade. Here are the most notable claims from the 42-page filing. Skip Bayless. Here we go. Skip. I guess Skip is grandpa Skip. Skip Bayless accused the hairstylist. He accused her of putting is accused by the hairstylist, excuse me, of putting his body against hers and pressing against her breast, despite her telling him she wasn't interested. By the way, Skip married, and it's funny too. Skip was getting pressed a lot. Definitely when he was on First Take. I can't remember if he had made it to FS1 before getting married, but he essentially had a long time girlfriend, Ernestine. They're like, when you get married, when you get married. Now look, you got this lawsuit coming out. Skip, if Skip was out here moving like this might have been why he wasn't married yet. You know what I mean? Anyways, because if you get married, when you're in California and you get divorced, they usually be splitting that thing right down the middle because all the famous people that they have there, they kind of just like, look, 50-50, we ain't got time to deal with it. The hairstylist, she had claimed also that Skip Bayless offered her 1.5 million for sex and became more aggressive as time went on. I want to be clear. Let's just be real about it. If you get offered 1.5 million to have sex, one is that prostitution, but two is like, how much more money do you need? This says sex. This seems, based off of this statement right here, this is like one time. Maybe I should look into the lawsuit, see how many times he had to do it. I don't know how much money Skip Bayless has. I know I believe he's in his 70s. Let me see Skip Bayless' age. I know Skip Bayless is in his 70s. Yeah, Skip Bayless is 73 years old. Yeah, so this is probably going on when he was in his 60s. But hey, getting up out of there. But I think turning down 1.5 million, your morals are your morals. But to my knowledge, this hairstylist was also a struggling single mother. Not saying you should go out here and sell your body, but hey, what is it? Body positivity, no shaming. Shout out to the OnlyFans. Hey, everybody out here doing it, and everybody wants to promote it. So it seems like this wouldn't be lowballing you for the act. Now, this was like over a period, even over a period of time. Let's be clear. Most people get paid less. Okay, most people get paid less than 1.5 million to have sex, right? Most people do it either for free or for like a couple $100. It really don't cost that much, right? So for 1.5 million. Hey, but unfortunately, Skip Bayless here was still being aggressive, even though she turned him down. Also, too, what I was going to say is we're not like talking about the money unless it's like really involved in any of these videos we go over. But it's how much money does Skip Bayless have? Like, even if he was 100 millionaire, this is 1.5% of his net worth. Like if he had $100 million liquid, like 1.5 million is a lot based off of the contracts that we've known that's for Skip Bayless to have. Not saying he doesn't have investments and things like that, but that's a crazy amount of money. Like I don't think Skip Bayless is a 100 millionaire. Let me see real quick. There's somebody who's worth 17 million or so. Like, even if he's worth 50 million, at what point in time is 1.5 million enough to have sex? You know what I mean? Versus like, your net worth. Anyways, though, she accuses Bayless of insulting her faith, as well as claiming he asked, "Aren't you Muslim? Doesn't your dad have three to four wives?" She reminded him that he is married. I told her Skip was married. The hairstylist alleged also she was targeted for ethnicity by other unnamed employees during her time. So apparently she's Muslim here, and it appears not to be white. You can see her name doesn't appear that she is, Caucasian, white American, however you want to look at it. And interesting there. Okay, here we go. Emmanuel Ocho. While not a complaint against him, Emmanuel was like, "Hey, y'all ain't involved in a lawsuit," but on-air host Emmanuel Ocho was accused of having a sexual relationship with colleague Joy Taylor in 2020. And as you look and see as shows were occurring, one thing too they missed about the Skip Bayless situation is that, let me see if Shannon Sharp is in here. Shannon Sharp Dawes article. So one of the things, if you look at the actual lawsuit, is that when there were issues between the hairstylist and Skip Bayless, according to the lawsuit, alleged in the lawsuit, that time frame is also around when Skip was pressing the hairstylist, saying she was in relations with Shannon Sharp. Those were denied in the lawsuit. However, that time frame I think is around like April 2022 or 2020, April 2023, excuse me, in that April 2023 range. And that's when you sort of see Skip and Shannon really having a lot of on-air beef. So I like to use the meme now where Skip's like, the famous meme where Skip's like, "It's my turn. It's my turn." If you actually look at that meme, he sort of like looks to the side. He like looks to the side as he's saying it. And I'm like, was that him actually trying to like make a shot at the hairstylist? Like, "It's my turn." Since, it's alleged in the lawsuit that Skip believed that the hairstylist that we're talking about here and Shannon Sharp are having a relation. But again, that's denied in the lawsuit. All right. Now, Manuel Ocho not involved, but he's involved with Joy Taylor. And again, for those who don't know, when FS1 started, Skip Bayless, one thing Skip is he's the godfather of all the sports talk shows. He was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith. Skip Bayless left and went to FS1 following Colin Cowherd, who went to FS1 first. Colin got fired, I believe, from ESPN. But Skip then picked Shannon Sharp to be his co-host on that show. They had a really great show, a really great run. It really flamed out towards the end with a fraction of their relationship. But this article and the alleged lawsuit sort of makes it seem like when they were fractioning on air for us to see that we have timestamps on, this alleged lawsuit is sort of having dates that may make it seem the Tom Brady thing might have been that Skip Bayless said essentially threw a shot at Shannon Sharp, who's one of the greatest athletes of all time, Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Skip took a shot at Shannon's career. Shannon was extremely upset about that. He mentioned this, but those dates seem to align with as like things were fracturing on their relationship on air with this alleged lawsuit as far as the hairstylist being confronted by Skip about having a relationship with Shannon Sharp. So that's really another big thing as well as we start, connecting some of the dots for those of us who, are into the sports world as well and watch these things. Now, Joy Taylor was the first host, I believe. She was the first host for Undisputed. Now, again, Undisputed is going to compete with First Take. I mean, First Take was the #1 show. It probably might have been really the only debate show at the time, but they were competing as far as that 10 to 12 o'clock, I believe, hour, 10 a.m. to 12 o'clock hour. First Take and FS1, the show that Skip and Shannon were on. And so Joy Taylor was the host of that show. And even though she wasn't one of the debaters, being the host of that show is a big deal as well, because you're the one essentially mitigating and serving up all the questions. You're the one talking first, doing the intro, all these different type of things. You're actually in the center of the table between the two of them, right? So that's kind of the thing there. Joy Taylor really didn't have, I think she had no experience on television. She was doing radio. She was bartending in Miami. She is Hall of Famer Jason Taylor's sister. That's really, where her fame came from. Like, oh, your name, you're Jason Taylor's sister. Okay, cool. But, apparently she, before getting on Undisputed, she did not have the resume. And in short, her career has continued to progress, where she was in On the Herd with Colin Cowherd. And then she was been on, I think it was Speak. She's been on a couple of shows, but one of those shows she was on was with Emmanuel Ocho, and he was in charge of that show. And they had a relationship in 2020 here. Now we're getting to Joy, Fox Sports host. She's accused of insulting the hairstylist on a personal professional level and telling her to get over it when the hairstylist reported alleged sexual harassment by Fox Sports executive Charlie Dixon. So that alleged harassment was at an event. It was a work event, but not at work, essentially, where, well, excuse me, I don't think it was a work event. It was, I believe, a birthday party. It was an event outside of work, but people that Joy Taylor worked with were invited, and in a lawsuit essentially saying, like, it's kind of required to go to these type of events when you like work at a big company like this. Okay, cool, whatever. At that event, the hairstylist is alleging where this alleged sexual harassment had occurred by Charlie Dixon. All right. And Joy Taylor is alleged to have had a sexual relationship with both Charlie Dixon and Emmanuel Ocho at the same time. Okay. The hairstylist, I don't know why she did this, but she approached Joy Taylor with her concerns about the dynamic the lawsuit states. All right. So the lawsuit is saying that the hairstylist did this. Then it's alleged in the lawsuit that Joy Taylor told her that she would simply report Dixon's misconduct to Fox Sports once he was no longer useful to her. Okay, so that's the big thing here. We're going to circle back around to that. Charlie Dixon, Fox Sports executive, right? He's essentially the one that Joy Taylor's having a relationship with. He's accused of grabbing the hairstylist inappropriately. The hairstylist also accuses Dixon of entering a sexual relationship with Taylor and giving her the right to host Undisputed as a result. Charlie Dixon, in short, was one in charge of content at FS1 during this time period. Dixon was adamant that Taylor host Undisputed despite objections from Bayless. So Skip Bayless wasn't really trying to get with Joy. He was trying to get with the hairstylist. So that's why Skip was like, I want her on my show. The hairstylist says, adding that Taylor told her directly that she was given the job because of her relationship with Dixon. All right, ladies. So when men be complaining about this, it's like, I'm not saying Joy Taylor set back women 100 years, but man, oh man, Molly Karam, Taylor Brooks, what's the lady who does, she used to be on ESPN. She's the one who does the Sunday Night Football. I can't remember, but for those, this is why the Believe All Women or something like Me Too, which is sort of like, this was sort of like fall under why some men are like, believe all women, because when something like this comes out, it's like, well, how do we know you didn't fall underneath this category? Like, I mean, and Molly Rose was married. Molly Kieran was married to Jalen Rose, right? But she was on, First Take before that. But it's again, you don't shit where you sleep. Like, highly recommend against getting in relationships with people you work with, and if you do, if it is like getting serious, someone's got to get another job. Like, it's because you can deal with these type of situations, right? If someone ends up getting promoted, right? I mean, it's like, do they not have sexual harassment training at FS1 at Fox? I mean, Fox is one of the largest companies in the world. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you know what I mean? So these type of things you kind of try to avoid. Right? The hairstylist though was saying that she alleged Joy Taylor's husband at the time found evidence. I believe this is a baseball player. Found evidence of the inappropriate relationship before divorcing her. So before Joy Taylor, excuse me, just as Joy Taylor was getting on Undisputed, her husband at the time found evidence that she was having an inappropriate relationship, and then she got divorced. Now, I don't know if these divorce filings are public, and if they are, if this is the reason for divorce. But hey, you know, you start, alleged things in the lawsuit can start, sort of, kind of get confirmed. All right. She also accuses Dixon of paying off Taylor's second husband, former NBA player Earl Watson, to stay silent about the matter. So this is her second husband, not her first. I guess the second husband is, their husband had divorced and found evidence is not Earl Watson. Oh my goodness. Dixon also is accused in the lawsuit of firing an unnamed female employee for refusing to have sex with him and keeping his own wife on Fox's payroll, so she would stay silent about his affair. So, Charlie Dixon is married. I don't know if he's still married, but he's at least married at the time that these allegations are occurring, that him and Joy Taylor were having a sexual relationship. It's just getting messier and messier as we go, right? And this is, again, what I was saying. When you start quid pro quo, Jesus Christ, goddamn mouse, we're using this for that. When it comes to sexual harassment, I mean, these are serious allegations, and since it's an executive and people are getting on shows, losing jobs, it is a civil lawsuit. So again, you're dealing with money here, essentially. Long story short, but it's something that really, going to be interesting how all this falls out. Bobby Diaz, while Diaz is he's behind the scenes employee, so sort of like Charlie Dixon, we don't actually get any FaceTime, screen time with him at Fox Sports. Rather than an on-air talent, he's subject to some of the most explosive allegations from the lawsuit that help paint the picture of what she claims was a toxic work environment. The hairstylist alleges Diaz racially and sexually harassed other employees, but was not reprimanded because he provided cocaine for colleagues. Cat William already told us. I mean, at this point, like, drugs and in Hollywood, like, okay, it is what it is. But if he's drugging them, then having sex with them, all right, we're in a Bill Cosby situation. Shout out to Bill Cosby. Anyways, Mr. Diaz openly gropes, harasses, and is inappropriate with women at Fox. The lawsuit states, adding that Diaz was unable to avoid punishment even after an incident where he removed his pants on live camera. I don't remember ever that hitting the internet. That must have got cut. Shout out to all the deviancy that's going on in Hollywood. Maybe that's why all them fires is happening. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a later time. Who is Skip Bayless' hairstylist? Again, Nashun Faraji. I wish I knew how to pronounce her name. Started as a hairstylist for Bayless on Fox Sports Talent based in Los Angeles. She was hired by Fox on a part-time basis in 2012 and full-time in 2016. According to her lawsuit, she was victim of workplace misconduct from 2012 to 2024. 12 years. And I want to, no victim blaming here, but 12 years? That's why it's sort of like, I couldn't be like, again, what they're saying that Bobby Diaz did, openly groping people, like, everyone's just seeing this sexual harassment occur. I couldn't do that. I'm out. Like, I'm gonna get another job. Like, I'm not just gonna quit my job. I don't, if I need that money, but I'm getting another job. I'm about to stay here for 12 years. What? I mean, my goodness, with Stockholm syndrome. But I mean, at some point in time, I mean, how do we know you just mad that you couldn't be Joy Taylor and they wasn't trying to put you out the hairstylist role? There go my victim blaming for today. But it's like, I mean, Joy had no issue. I mean, because she was getting that. I mean, you was offered 1 mil. I mean, you claiming Skip offered you 1.5 mil. And I know you wasn't making that as a hairstylist at FS1. That's probably, I'm not gonna say how much the hairstylists get paid, but my guess is 1.5 mil from 2012 to 2024 is close to, if not more than, her gross. Because she was part-time for 4 years. My guess is that's close to her gross during that she made that time frame. Okay, Skip Bayless net worth. Yeah, see, his net worth is an estimated 17 million. And again, these net worth things aren't accurate, right? We don't know what it is. But Skip damn near offered her 10% of his net worth for some box. And I want to be clear, most of y'all got a negative net worth and is out here having sex. So I guess, I mean, I shouldn't, try to be too hard on Skip Bayless, but I mean, my goodness, pause, right? But I mean, that's crazy. 73-year-old former host of Undisputed spent 8 years with Fox Sports for leaving 2024. He is the subject of some of the most troubling allegations in the lawsuit, including the claim right that he offered 1.5 million. All right, who is Charlie Dixon? He's an executive vice president of content at Fox Sports, making him one of the most important decision makers at the company. Dixon joined in 2015 and oversees all content and production on the channel. According to the hairstylist in the lawsuit, Dixon abused that power at multiple points. He's accused of demanding sexual relationships with female employees and, in at least one case, firing an employee after she refused to have sex with him. That firing an employee for not having sex, that's a big deal. And obviously, it's alleged he was having sex with Joy, and Joy got promoted with that. So there you go. And again, some of these women, they turned him down. It seems like most of them turned him down, besides Joy, and Joy was willing to, get down with it. And that is what it is. Fox Sports released a short statement after the lawsuit. Yeah, Fox they're not gonna do too much talking. They got a whole lawsuit on their hands here, and so a lot of the stuff in here is egregious. And we're gonna get back to what I think is the most egregious thing in the lawsuit. We take these allegations seriously and have no further comment at this time, given this pending litigation. Per the lead attorney on this case for us told me to say, right? I mean, let's be very clear. The company said in the wake of the bombshell. Notably, the lawsuit names longtime co-host Colin Cowherd, but not negatively. Shout out to Colin Cowherd. A lot of people don't like Colin. I've always loved Colin's takes back when he was on ESPN. And this one, I say, as far as, listening to him. And this makes me like, okay, good choice, with Colin. I never really banged with Skip like that. Joy is like, it is what it is. I don't like Emmanuel Ocho. Out of people that are named here, obviously, love Shannon Sharp. But, shout out to Colin Hurd being negatively involved in this, because Colin had Joy on his show. And Cowherd is described as being professional and respectful to her throughout her time at Fox Sports. Again, any show that Joy Taylor was on and had a very serious role in, because after Joy left Undisputed, then she went over to Colin Cowherd's show. So that's probably why they're like, hey, what's up with Colin? And they're like, nah, Colin's cool. All right. Shannon Sharp, meanwhile, said after the lawsuit service that it ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't know, maybe this is why Shannon left, because he may or may not have known this was going on, but was like, hey, it's time for me to get up out of here. And declined to address allegations because he wasn't. He not mentioned, but Shannon Sharp is not okay. Shannon Sharp is mentioned in the lawsuit as far as his name. He is not mentioned in the lawsuit as of doing anything. So the lawsuit is short, says that Skip is alleging that the hairstylist and Shannon had a relationship, not that the hairstylist, and I believe there are many other women on this lawsuit. Right. No one is alleging that Shannon Sharp did anything besides Skip Bayless, who is alleged, right, of paying the 1.5 million. He's offering 1.5 million for the box. He's like, no. He's like, nah, it's my turn. Right. He's saying it's my turn. You have sex with Shannon. She's like, I'm not having sex with Shannon. So Shannon is in the lawsuit, but not admission of doing anything. But I guess they didn't say he wasn't doing anything either. Sort of like how Colin Cowherd is apparently mentioned as of not doing anything. Shannon, I guess, is not. Bayless did not address these allegations. I wouldn't either against him in the most recent episode of his new show on YouTube. Taylor also appeared on air after the lawsuit was filed, but did not mention any of the allegations there. I would be surprised they could say anything. I'd be shocked. Well, Skip and Shannon could say what they want because they don't work there anymore, but Joy and Emmanuel Acho, anyone on Fox, they got to act like this didn't even happen. All right, but here's the biggest thing as we're about to get into this video here. We're going to test out the troubleshooting. At the end right here, where this is saying about Taylor's alleged to have a relationship with Mr. Dixon and Ocho at the same time. When the hairstylist approached her about this, saying, hey, Dixon is a powerful man. I don't know if you do that. Taylor, this is in the lawsuit, Joy Taylor apparently told the hairstylist she would simply report Dixon's misconduct to Fox Sports once he was no longer useful to her. Wait, what? So you're going to claim that he committed a sex crime against you, even though you was actually willingly in this relationship? And it's alleged that your husband divorced you over it, but then you was going to say that a sex crime committed against you, which is borderline impossible to come back from. Hold on now. That's we talking about now. That's alleged, right? But if this is something that is proven to be found true, that Joy Taylor was going to essentially say someone who she was in a committed relationship with actually forced her to have sex with him, and then that's why you got to. All right, now, y'all.
Multiple things multiple things can be true at once. But I have realized that there is a subgroup of people on the internet who are committed to misunderstanding me and are going to hate me no matter what I say. So the truth is, number one, if it is true that Joy Taylor admitted that she would be willing to lie about SA if she was caught sleeping with a boss at work while married, that is wrong. People should get in trouble for lying about SA and falsely accusing men of SA. Not only does it hurt.
Is she wrong here when she's saying this? This is the issue that a lot of men have with Me Too movement and bully ball women. I mean, this is alleged in a lawsuit that not only Joy Taylor was having sex in short to make her way to the top, but then she was going to turn around and say the people she had sex with actually forced her to have sex with them. Huh? Come on now, y'all. I mean, let's have a serious conversation about that. Again, everything else in the lawsuit, if it's they're alleged, whatever it's deemed true, those are egregious as well. But in short, everyone, as far as not everyone, enjoy Taylor's situation. People having consensual sex. She's sleeping her way to the top. No one was forced. That kind of is what it is. There's there's cocaine in there. I mean, look, drugs in Hollywood. That kind of is what it is. Obviously, we're like the hairstylist being forced to, sexual harassment in her case. Understand? Right, those are crimes there. But when Joy's saying she was going to lie about this, well, Joy, you a two-faced bitch. I mean, let's just keep it real. Not only is he gonna sleep your way to the top, then you're gonna turn around and say he committed a sex crime against you. Come on now. And then not to mention, shout out to Jason Taylor. Jason Taylor, I love watching Jason Taylor play. I know this nigga got to be heated right now. All right.
It hurt the men and their reputation, but it only hurts SA victims, real SA victims. Women are lying. That y'all are using Joy Taylor as the face of this lawsuit because of misogyny. Because Taylor on television talking about sports on major platforms, opinion and being honest and being
No. Okay. See, and again, I don't read these articles or watch these videos ahead of time. I watch them just enough to make sure. But sometimes, I get screwed in that. I want to be clear, and this is part of the issue. And I was going to make a post about this today about people not understanding. A lot of times when we're having these conversations, people don't have them in chronological order as far as a historical standpoint. Initially, sports coverage in general wasn't that popular. Shout out to rest in peace and Stuart Scott, who really kind of kicked this off at ESPN. And some Rich Eisen, a handful of people at ESPN who really got the sports entertainment going in conjunction with like the success that a lot of teams were having, like in the 80s and 90s, right? Jordan, right there, everything kind of had a great synergy at the same time with historical athletes like the Jordans of the world and ESPN having the talent to comment on these things. Stuart Scott, for those who don't know, he used to be a professional athlete, right? I believe. Let me see who he played for. Or did he go play D1? I can't remember who Stuart Scott played for. I know he went to North Carolina. I'm looking at this ESPN. I can't find it. But anyways, Stuart Scott played sports at a high level as well. At least I believe at the Division I level. Anyways, but there was a time where, and we're seeing it. If you didn't notice, like the players who played like in the 80s and 90s, they're kind of now just getting on television. I say now, like in the last like decade or so. I think NFL Network is the best example where at a time, NFL Network's lineup, on Sunday, NFL game day, was a combination of Steve Mariucci being essentially the only person who wasn't going to be in the Hall of Fame. They had Kurt Warner, they had Marshall Faulk, they had Deion Sanders, they had Warren Sapp, they had Michael Irvin, they had LaDainian Tomlinson, they had Deion Sanders, they had Shannon Sharp. Everyone, this name is Hall of Famer, by the way. Talking about the NFL newsflash, women cannot have a more of a say so in the conversation about the NFL or about the NBA or about MLB over the Hall of Famers in the sport. A lot of people, Alec Rodriguez, David Ortiz, a lot of players now talking about sports. Isaiah Thomas is talking about sports. The greatest sports show I think on television is the TNT show with Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Shaquille O'Neal. Now, Kenny Smith is not a Hall of Famer, but he won, I believe, national championship at UNC. So he played at North Carolina, arguably the greatest college basketball program in the history of the world. And then he played on the Houston, won back-to-back championships with Hakeem Olajuwon. So he has that championship cachet to him as well. There are a small set of women, if any women at all, that you're going to be like, oh yeah, you need to talk basketball over, you know, Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley. Like, no, that's not the case. Now, when we are having now we're seeing more as the WNBA is popping off. You are seeing WNBA players having conversations, Candace Parker of the world, having conversations about Candace Parker has been on the TNT show, but also talking about the WNBA as well. But the issue is a lot of the notorious WNBA players may still be playing in the WNBA, so they're not going to be able to talk about the WNBA while they're still playing in the league. Now, like 20 years from now, we might see Caitlin Clark, we might see Angel Reese talking about the WA and doing commentary on it. But like when someone like LaShawn McCoy, who, if you let me talk about it, he was the best running back since LaDainian Thompson. Not the best runner. Best runner is Adrian Peterson, but the best running back overall, in my eyes, is LaShawn McCoy. But LaShawn McCoy, two-time Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest Philadelphia Eagles all time. You can make the case that he's the second best Eagle of all time behind Reggie White. Like who's the second best Eagle of all time that isn't Reggie White? LaShawn McCoy is in that case. He did not win a Super Bowl, with the Eagles. You can throw Nick Foles right in there because he, as an Eagle, because he did win that Super Bowl for them. Obviously Philly loves Nick Foles, but I mean, Joy Taylor is not going to have as much weight in the conversation as LaShawn McCoy can when it comes to sports. Now, Joy Taylor, her brother is Jason Taylor, a Hall of Famer, so she can provide that insight as well. But you're not going to sit here and tell me, if I'm looking at James Jones, who played with Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl champion, and when James Jones was in his prime, he was balling. You got LaShawn McCoy, who is one of the best running backs of his era, if not the best, depending on who you talk to, and it's likely going to be a Hall of Famer. You got Emmanuel Ocho, who is the best commentator on the show, but did play in the NFL. He was, pretty much a journeyman. He didn't have a great career in the league, but he was in the NFL. And then you got Joy up there. It's like, I mean, okay. And every now and then you have someone like, an Adam Schefter of the world, or even like a Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is well known because he was covering Jordan and he was covering the Cowboys. And again, like I said, the synergy. So Skip Bayless is one of the top reporters and insiders when it comes to knowing about Michael Jordan in the 90s and the 90s Cowboys. All right. So that's Skip Bayless. Okay. So when it's saying there's a lack of women on here, it's like, well, they got to have more insight to the sport than the men that are on the show. And like I said, now we got Ryan Clark is on the show now, right? Dan Orlowski is on the show. Shannon Sharp. Like if Shannon Sharp shows up and saying, hey, I'm here to talk about football, Joy Taylor can't say nothing. That's why you was the host in the middle. All right. So when women are making that point, it's got to be in the women's sports. But again, as we see, the WNBA, even when Caitlin shows up, they still don't want to let Caitlin help them rise to the top. They still trying to put her down and stuff. And so that is a little misunderstanding because it's not like it's just random men, how it used to be coming out, that's commenting on these sports that in short they were just reporters or journalists like Stephen A. Smith or like Skip Bayless, right? They weren't, professional athletes. But now a lot of people now, when you look that are commentating on these sports, they are ex-players of the sport that they're talking about. It's going to be hard to overtalk the show. And I would say the show that could really compete with TNT show was the late night show after the Sunday Night Football game on Info Network. It had Dion, it had LT, and it had Shannon Sharp, and sometimes I believe Michael Irvin in there. But Deion Sanders, Michael Irvin, Shannon Sharp, and Warren Sapp, boy, if you haven't seen them all be on the show, because with Dion and Michael have playing with each other on the Cowboys, and then Dion and Shannon, I believe they made it overlap. But they're friends in real life. Obviously, they're Hall of Famers. Warren Sapp as well, right? So they are in the same group of things. Michael Irvin and Warren Sapp, they had the connection because they both played at my University of Miami, so they're Hurricanes, right? That synergy is insane. On top of the in-depth knowledge that they have of the sport, then on top of the fact that they're some of the best. I mean, Deion Sanders is considered the best corner, like undisputed, like all time. So when we talk about pass coverage in the NFL, can't nobody say nothing over Deion Sanders, right? If we talking about being a pass catcher, and you got Michael Irvin, who as Skip would consider, the playmaker, but not Skip is a playmaker, but arguably better than Jerry Rice. in the postseason, there go my son banging. Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. But these type of things, that people aren't looking at.
Typically, men are comfortable with women being in the role of being the vehicle to direct their conversations about sports.
Not true. When it was Cold Pizza with Skip Bayless and Woody Page, okay, I can't remember the guy that was on there, but there was a man that was doing that. What is it, Nick Wright show with Chris Bouchard? And Chris Carter. Wow. Ooh, Chris Carter is one of the goats at doing this. But Chris Carter, Nick Wright and Chris Bouchard, they have a man hosting their show too, right? So I mean, Emmanuel Ocho is essentially the host of his show, right? Or even when Max, what's it called? You had Max and you had Max Kellerman and Marcellus Wiley with Michelle Beadle, right? Or you had Michelle Beadle, I think it was. Oh, who's hosting that show? I can't remember. But you had Jamel Hill. But I mean, it's not that many shows. Like, we're talking about the top shows here. We're not just talking about all these various shows that they had. There's only like really 3 or 4 shows that have really been crazy, right? Where people is actually watching it. All right, so let's be clear with that as well.
And Joy Taylor is not that. So there is a lot of vitriol towards her. People have been committed to hating Joy Taylor for a long time, much before this lawsuit. This just gives them a reason. It can also be true that there are a lot of men involved in this lawsuit who, if we opened up their closets and pulled out all the skeletons and looked through their sexual history, not only would you gasp and be afraid, you would be like, arrest those niggas. Because men do weird sexual shit at work all the time, which is actually what this lawsuit is all about. Another cold hard truth: you are never.
Don't disagree with her there. That's not to be misogynistic, but that's one of the reasons why when you hear some people say that women shouldn't be in men's space, this is what they, in short, were saying was going to happen. And so now you got to sort this out. Or you got women that's going to be down with it. You got women that's not going to be down with it. That's long story short. And then you got some women who's going to be down with it, like Joy Taylor, but then turn around and apparently say like, "Hey, yo, I was forced to do this." All right.
Never going to hear me come on the internet and accuse a woman who has used her time, her resources, her money, put her face out there for all of her dirty laundry to be picked apart and to be talked about and scrutinized in order to accuse a big corporation like Fox Sports or talent from Fox Sports of sexual misconduct. You are never going to hear me accuse a woman who is going to all of that trouble of lying unless I see cold, hard proof that she.
I want to be clear too. I believe Fox is also, and it's not just like Fox Sports or FS1, and I think it's Fox Sports, FS1, FS1, and FS2. Like, they have all these different names of the actual companies. I believe Fox is alleged in this lawsuit as well.
She's not telling the truth. I'm not going to do that. Another truth: a lot of the times we see these lawsuits and these accusations and this tea in Hollywood. Guess a part of that, making any money.
Okay, I thought she was
going the traditional route, which is why
I thought she was going to go on a tangent here and start talking about people that aren't in.
What the hell went on behind closed doors? Sometimes we may never know. I'm not going to do that. Another truth: a lot of the times we see these lawsuits and these accusations and this tea in Hollywood. Guess what? We don't know what the hell went on behind closed doors. Sometimes we may never know. And sometimes you hear a big lawsuit with a lot of accusations and screenshots and proof, and you're like, holy shit. And then the person comes back with their defense, and you're like, holy shit. And I don't want to be a part of that. Another cold, hard truth that y'all don't want
to. Again, this is something you have to. I'm just speaking on what's alleged, and if the things that are alleged are true, right? So you do have to wait for everything to play out. As I always say, if you're gonna bring about a lawsuit, talk to me when people go to court and they got to testify. In short, right? So we're dealing with allegations right now.
Hear from me. Joy Taylor is more than qualified to be in the position that she's in.
Not true.
She was painted to be this bartender who randomly got on Fox Sports. She was going the traditional route, which is why I'm making TikToks and not.
Notice how she didn't say what her on. I mean, she wasn't again on some show that was filling like the 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. hour, whatever like the lame hour is. She was on the show to be the host for a show that was competing to be the #1 sports debate show in the world. All right, that Undisputed was designed to compete with First Take. Skip Bayless left First Take, I believe it was $5 million or whatever it was at the time, came to FS1 to compete against then Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman on First Take, and he picked Shannon Sharp. And Shannon Sharp, again, was doing CBS, was doing NFL Network, again, is a Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Like that, they between Skip and Shannon are loaded between the talent between two of them. And one would say Joy may not have had the experience at that time to do that. Molly Karam came from NFL Network, I believe, so she was already on TV, so that wasn't like her first role. All right. So again, let's be clear. And also, too, no disrespect to Joy just in general, but a lot of her equity is in the fact that her brother is Jason Taylor. Like, remember, she was in Miami, and Jason Taylor is, I mean, it's arguably the second best player in the history of Miami, sports behind Dan Marino as far as NFL. If he's in that, I mean, before LeBron James and Dwayne Wayne showed up, I mean, Jason Taylor is one of the Miami icons from a sports standpoint. So having him be your brother probably helps as well. And no issue with that, by the way. But when we're talking about Joy, Joy had the credentials. Nah, it's not like she couldn't have been on TV. Nobody's saying that. If she was bartending, Jason Taylor is your brother. She was doing sports, talk show as far as like on the radio. And then she may have been doing producing behind the camera. But then to say, hey, we're gonna make you have no on-air experience, on air, meaning being on TV, and we're gonna make you be the host of this show that we're gonna compete with First Take. Where are those credentials at? That's the issue. With the also allegations of you sleeping your way to the top, and your husband having divorced you at the time for doing it, and your other husband being paid to keep silent about it. And then you allege being turned around saying you was going to say that the person who put you in this position was forcing himself on you, even though you was actually consenting to it the whole time.
Sitting at somebody's news.
Nobody's saying they're upset with her bartending. We're saying she doesn't have the on-air experience. She was bartending. That's what they're saying. We're saying this is her resume, and it's not on air.
So that you can get to the position of Joy Taylor.
Nobody's mad that she was making her money. Let me let her talk, though. Oops, my sorry, Maria or Mariah.
Who is clearly not interested in him. He's a weirdo. And we should be talking about that more. But we are used to men in power doing stuff like that. So it's not that shocking. And if this all turns out to be true, and you're one of those people using Joy Taylor as a vehicle for you to spew your misogyny at me or any other woman in sports that you don't like simply because they're a woman speaking about sports, fuck you. Because you have much deeper problems than Joy or anything that happened at Fox Sports.
Okay, if I'm one of these people that she's talking about, I really don't care that much. Let's be very, very clear. If what is alleged is true, highly unfortunate, and people see one of the things that a lot of times people miss is that this is a civil suit. It's not a criminal suit, so it's not highly unlikely that anybody's going to put behind bars in this case. I mean, I'm not aware. This is probably filed in Los Angeles, but I don't know how things work in California. Shout out to OJ. Remember, OJ had a criminal suit. That's the case that he beat with Johnny Cochran. Then when people say, he got convicted, that was the civil suit, which requires significantly less burden of proof. Likely this will end up settling, and this lady's going to get paid probably more than 1.5 million, or the lady's involved in it because Fox, is a $1 billion company. But long story short, the issue is that if all these things have been happening in short for almost a decade and a half, that's tragic. But when it looks like the person who benefited the most from this, as far as what we can physically see, is Joy Taylor, and what's alleged that she had done and was going to do in this lawsuit. Charlie Dixon, yes, is alleged in this lawsuit that he committed actual crimes. And so I think that he should be persecuted for those crimes. I have no issue with that as well. But then you have Joy is well involved. You have Skip involved, right? And it's sort of like, I mean, it's been going on for so long. And again, you filed a civil suit, not a criminal suit. So, like, what are you trying to do? And again, it's hard to prove criminal allegations, especially on the sexual side. If you're going to wait, if they've been going on for 12 years, I mean, it's hard to have evidence. I mean, I watched not all of them, they have so many episodes, but a lot of episodes of Law and Order SVU. And any of the episodes, I mean, a lot of them involve some type of, essay crime. But they would be like, don't get a shower. Like, I mean, you're gonna wash away the evidence. I mean, there are things that need to be done for people to get convicted when crimes are committed. But then we're telling the victims in this case what they need to do so that the people who committed the crime, we can actually convict them of the crime. Then that's blaming, that's victim blaming. There's an issue with that. It's like, what do you want? Because you have something, if you look at something like the Innocence Project, it's so crazy when Black people say this. But the one thing that Black people have the biggest issue with is being convicted of crimes that they did not do, and the evidence is not there to support it. But then that's supposed to play to everybody. If you want the legal system to be set up to help everyone out, quote unquote, equally, then you got to treat everyone the same, and you got to have the evidence. And if you don't have the evidence, you can't do no Brett Kavanaugh stuff talking about, yeah, he sexually assaulted me 30 years ago. Bitch, what? What evidence do you have? This got to be hearsay. I know you have no tapes. right? I mean, different now where we got, yeah, you can record, yeah, everybody got cell phones, things like that. But when the evidence is in short hearsay, you say you did this and I say I didn't do this, then what are we going to do? And that's why people file civil suits, because in short, you run into a defamation issue where, from like a marketing standpoint, when now Fox has to deal with a short, you can call it like a smear campaign, but like they could deal with this hurting their ratings. People are not going to watch the show, so they're just like settle it to make it go away, and then they'll just pay the money and everybody go about their day. Or somebody, Charlie, this is going to end up getting terminated, and then he'll get a big payout, right? Then he'll get another job somewhere else some years later, or something crazy like that, right? That's usually what happens in these type of situations. If I want to say Fox folds, but in some type of settlement, or if like more evidence pops up and they're like, oh, this is looking really bad, they'll usually end up settling. I'm someone, don't do the settling and go to criminal. Like if someone really, really did something to you, then you need to prosecute them criminally if that's what happened, right? Now they're saying in a situation where it's like, hey, you believe you got terminated unjustly, civil suit, right? Unless the laws fit that it could be criminal. But if you think it's a civil suit, then do civil. But when in short crimes are being alleged, then you have to take the route to actually prosecute people for their crimes, because you want Charlie Dixon to get in trouble here, or any of these men in power that she's talking about, but then for whatever reason you don't want to actually put them in a position where they can get in trouble. I mean, as a lawsuit alleged, this was going on for 12 years. So now we're showing up in 2024 like, dang. I mean, I don't work at Fox. I'm not in LA. I don't know what's going on there. So if something's going on, you got to tell us. And she's saying I should watch all these things happen. The one dude was a Bobby Diaz, was on camera, exposed himself, pulled his pants down. I don't know if he exposed himself fully, but he pulled his pants down. It's like, okay, like we're not sitting here just keeping track of these things. This is your job, right? But anyway, y'all, locked and loaded into the episode. First, taken out of context, I think these are gonna be my favorite. I think the Jordan and I really added these are podcast files. It's all the same concept, going over and reacting to the latest topics, the hottest topics that are going out, in sort of like the pop culture, social media type of sphere. We'll get into money stuff, we'll get into relationship stuff, like really about money, things like that. But when something like this happens, where it's like, okay, this is getting kind of crazy, we're going to cover it here on the Coordinate Full of That podcast. All right. But again, y'all, make sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Shout out to the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you leave those rating reviews on the podcast platforms as well. My information, as well as my co-host Jordan information, can be found in the description on YouTube. Let me know what you thought about this episode. I'm not going to stop doing them, but if you guys want me to cover something, DM, email us, whatever it is, post a comment about it for us to go over. But I'm going to make sure that these are continuing to drop for y'all. All right. Again, we're going to talk about that California fire. We're going to get into some wild stuff about the budget in Maryland. We got some episodes kind of, like I said, new year, new us, trying to add some different information here on the podcast. Still got to troubleshoot my mic situation and things like that. But we're going to, start ramping up the kind of content that we're covering on this channel. All right. That's it, y'all. Remember to save more and say less. Keep making better your best. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.